Hello world, YouTube boys, girls, aliens, and everybody named Nicole.
I'm Dex.
I am Mr. Oceans.
And this is Facts of the Factless. Tonight we're going to be covering the Wendigo.
In our first official episode, we decided to pick a topic that would be slightly more known than some, but not as common as Nessie.
And look, I fixed the echo. Yay!
Oh, thank goodness. People can understand me again.
Again? It's only the second episode. Anyway, the Wendigo actually started as a Native American legend in the Northwest? Either the Northwest or the Northeast.
Northeast into Canada, I believe.
Thank you. And basically what it is a mythical human-like creature who only hungers for human flesh. So it used to be human, but now it is this fierce, ferocious beast that has developed a taste for human flesh. People become Wendigos. It's not like this thing just pops out of nowhere. You become a Wendigo by cannibalism, basically. Even if it's out of necessity to survive. Like, one case is a Cree man named Swift Runner famously slaughtered his entire family in 1878 and ate them despite being only 25 miles away from the Hudson Bay Company supply post. Now, another incident would be in 1907, a Onge Cree man named Jack Fiddler and his brother were arrested for killing over 14 people who he claimed were Wendigos or about to become them. Now, both of these were Native American men who believed strongly in the Wendigo and becoming one. It's a condition known as Wendigo psychosis, and this is where psychology plays a huge part in this. It's almost like a combination of mass hysteria and... what was the other thing I was thinking of?
Cabin fever?
Yes. It's a combination of those two. The way it spreads is the thought of this human eating another human sparks some form of fear in people, and they start spreading rumors, and rumors, well, not rumors in this case, I should say, stories become legend, and every time this legend gets past word of mouth, a little bit more of it gets twisted, because no one person tells the same story the same way. Whereas the actual Wendigo itself is more of cabin fever, because it's basically a person going crazy and killing people and eating them to survive. Now, cabin fever is usually only usually affects people who are isolated by themselves for long periods of time, like for months or even years on their own. Whereas this one is something in the person's brain snaps. I shouldn't say snaps. Something in the person's brain just goes wrong, and they feel that their only means of survival is cannibalizing other people.
Now, I'd like to take this time, now that we have a grasp on what the Wendigo actually is, let's bring in our opinions. So I'll start with my personal opinion on this. Now, let's talk for a minute about the fact that this is Native American folklore. If anyone has taken the time to actually study Native American culture, you've learned that almost all of their stories and legends came from oral tradition, which was simply the act of storytelling. They would take the time to, I guess what we do today is sit around the campfire and tell stories. That's exactly the same thing they did, except it was part of their culture and faith. Now, I personally do not believe that the Wendigo is how it is often depicted. The Wendigo is not always depicted. The Wendigo is almost always depicted as an animalistic being that is part human and part animal of choice based on whatever route you're taking the description of it from. Now, I don't believe that's what it is. I personally believe the Wendigo is more of a, so to say, syndrome. Now, if you've ever watched The Shining, great movie, if you've ever watched The Shining, that was a perfect example of cabin fever. You know, not only...
Kind of. I'm going to cut you off for a second. That one's kind of a perfect example of cabin fever.
That was cool.
If only because cabin fever, like I said, usually only occurs in people who are left by themselves. Yes, the character Jack Nicholson played was primarily by himself because he was a writer busy working. Sorry to spoil the movie for y'all if you haven't seen it. But he suffered more of a psychosis than cabin fever. There is a difference. He had a psychotic break.
There is a difference, and yes, he did have more of a psychotic break, but that was Hollywood. They can call it cabin fever if they want to.
Well, Hollywood is wrong.
Hollywood is often wrong. Do you ever watch movies?
Only if I have to.
Aren't you going to see The Purge?
That I'm excited to see, but let's not get off topic.
Okay, yeah. So, my personal belief, continuing, is that the Wendigo is a syndrome. Now, I do not believe in the transformation that is spoken of from human to animalistic being in human form. I believe it as the sense of cabin fever, which The Shining depicts well. The actual Wendigo syndrome, as I like to say, is just a matter of a need for survival and the survival instinct kicking in before civilized humanistic nature. So, I do believe the Wendigo syndrome, so to say, can happen to anybody, but there are certain triggers that need to be set off. Some people do have a stronger survival instinct, and it's actually, I believe, those with a weaker survival instinct that are more likely to be affected by Wendigo syndrome.
It's almost willpower, I should say. I want to say, but it's not. Like, it's really weird. It's almost the amount of willpower the person has to live and what means they have to obtain life is really what it's more geared toward, what my brain says. We never mentioned how the Wendigo looks, like, after the transformation. It is a humanoid figure. I'll post a picture up, like I usually do. It is a humanoid figure with the head of a deer, the torso of... It's the head and torso of a deer, while the rib-caged and skeletal system is exposed. It has ash-tone skin, very large owl-like eyes, large claws, a very emaciated body, so on and so forth. Another fun fact. Our favorite show did an episode on the Wendigo. Lost Tapes.
That was actually relatively convincing.
It was. It actually did a really good job depicting the Wendigo psychosis, which is what people suffer, which is much like cabin fever. So I will have that in the down bar again. Like I said, Lost Tapes is on Netflix, and it is on Amazon Prime. I'm sure you could find it on YouTube or some other site. So, if you have any of those resources, you can definitely find it. It's one of my favorite episodes in that series, hands down.
I liked it. Now, being someone who doesn't necessarily believe in the actual Wendigo. It did do a good job of convincing me. I still believe more in just the idea of the syndrome or Wendigo psychosis rather than the actual transformation. I think Hollywood would do a great job of depicting it, but I don't know. The idea of the full transformation just really, I'm not buying it.
I actually found out that there was a movie made based off of the legend of the Wendigo. It was made in 2001. Not that great reviews, but I will put the trailer in and I'll let you guys decide because I haven't seen it. I actually just found out that it's a thing.
Literally as we are recording this.
It is. No, I found out earlier. Like, I didn't know it was a thing.
I was making a joke.
Well, most sightings of the Wendigo are up in, like, Minnesota, or in very heavily wooded areas.
Well, according to, the research done, the Wendigo actually hibernates, blah, blah, blah. That actually reminds me of the case of cases of human sterilization, in which a person is left in the wild and they actually revert back to their primitive states. Not to full extent, a man won't go walking on all fours and start growing fur like a gorilla again. But if someone is left in the wild, their means of survival are actually, in not in all cases, but in some cases, the means of survival is the mind will revert back in time to a primitive state, because as our primitive species, we were more developed for natural survival. We didn't have guns. We weren't reliant on guns and gunpowder. We didn't have houses to protect us. We were reliant on, living in the woods, out in the wild, and using wooden weapons and our bare hands to fight. So, the cases of feral humanization are relatively similar, if you think about it, to Wendigo syndrome, because human feralization brings out the strongest means of survival.
Most of the time, yes. Like, if the case is in the wild, let's put it that way. Because there are other cases of human feralization where they're not in the wild. And it's just severe cases of neglect that have these kids revert back to the most primitive spots, like primitive memories in their brains to survive. So it's not just... More of the case of feralization is... It's more if they are out in the wild, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I'm pretty sure that's basically what I said, but okay.
Just reiterating.
Ooh, I think my Wendigo syndrome's sprouting a little bit.
Don't eat me!
No promises.
I'm really glad that you don't live close to me.
Huh? Yeah, but I heard Slenderman does.
Slendy's not a threat. He's been so popularized, it's not even funny. Anyway, not our topic tonight.
That's for another day.
And I'm not looking forward to that one. The Wendigo, unfortunately, is what it is. It's very simple.
I'm sure there have been reports of it. If you really wanted, people could argue that Jeffrey Dahmer suffered Wendigo syndrome.
Easy there.
Okay, like I said, if you wanted.
Good thing nobody wants to. And there's a reason for it. Because Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't suffering from any kind of syndrome of being alone and having to revert back to a more survivalistic state. He, unfortunately, was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, different kind of Cocoa Puff.
But it's... I don't know, like, it's hard to find any good information about it. Like, besides Lost Tapes and Fact or Fiction, apparently did an episode on it.
The Wendigo is a very tricky topic just because there is not a lot of information on it. But on top of not having a lot of information on it, as I was saying before, the Wendigo is a topic that is very, very up for opinion. You know, it's not the simple opinion of, oh, I believe in it or I don't believe in it, like almost like a lot of the other cryptids are. It's up for opinion in the sense that you can believe it's real. You can believe it's not real. You can believe that it takes different forms rather than the half deer, half human. You can believe, like I do, that it's not actually a transformation but a simple mental syndrome. You can believe so many different things about this topic, and that's part of why it's such a difficult topic.
It's also really tricky because it is based off of Native American folklore. And in order to say a belief, or a disbelief for that matter, could very much so insult quite a few people.
Definitely. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like any of today's religions and cultures. If you're not saying that Native American cultures and beliefs are not around today, but it's like saying it's, as we say in anthropology, it's can revolve around being very ethnocentric. You know, focusing on simply neglecting other beliefs and cultures and believing yours is the best or superior. Minus the second part, but more just the neglect or, you know, disinterest of other cultures. So that is part of why it's a difficult topic, because, well, it can be offensive and it can, you know, cause people to be ethnocentric. I'm sure anthropologists all around the world have a field day when they get to talk about Wendigo.
And unfortunately, we are losing a lot of this culture. I mean, we're losing a lot of Native American tribes, and a lot of these awesome cryptids and folklore come from that, especially the ones that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of twists and turns within Native American culture, and I love studying Native American culture. I've had a couple of good opportunities to do so, but we never talked about Wendigo, and especially not in my anthro class last semester. I was sad about that. I wanted to talk about Wendigo.
I didn't take any interesting classes, except for public speaking, and that's because you were in it.
Woo! I heard the first one.
I personally like the Wendigo.
It does not make my top 20.
Doesn't make my top 20 either. I like the idea of it. Like, I like the idea of the psychosis end of it. Not a huge fan of the transformation thing. It's one of those things that I'm just like, yes. Like, it makes me smile when we talk about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I was taking a class or a psych class and we talked about Wendigo syndrome, yeah, it'd be great, and I'd be happy. Oh, cool, we're talking about something I know. But, you know, definitely not in my top 20. Probably not in my top 50. I don't really dislike the topic, but I don't really have a love for the Wendigo like I have a love for the Strogi vampire, or obviously Nessie is one I really like. But you know, I love mermaid. I love the idea of mermaids. I love the idea of Ningen. You know, those are like in my top 10 and top 5.
Well, while we're here, I feel we should mention one of the other very similar Native American folklores, being the Skinwalker.
Ooh, that one. Oh God, that's one that I'm gonna leave that one to you, Dex. That one hurts me.
Why? It's not that bad.
Because it makes my skin crawl.
It should.
It literally, as soon as you said Skinwalker, whatever. Skinwalker, okay. As soon as you said Skinwalker, I literally felt shivers down my spine.
It's really not that bad.
It's one of my ones.
It's one of your ones?
It's probably in my top 10, but it freaks me out.
Basically what it is a werewolf. It is the where brain just stopped working. It's the Native American version of the werewolf. Basically, it is a spirit that guards the land that it is on. It has been known to attack people. It is either seen as a Native American man with the skin of a wolf over it, or as a very large wolf as itself. It does have the ability to mimic the voices of those you love to draw you away from its land. It's one of my favorites. It really is.
I like it. I do like the topic. If you think about, man, is that really just left my head?
I don't know, but
right. Okay. Being the Native American werewolf, it was also, if you think about it, the Native American poltergeist. Except rather than being destructive, it was being protective.
And believe it or not, there's also a skin called Skinwalkers. And it's not that great. It really isn't. The idea is there, but it's just not good. It's really bad. Basically, the premise of the movie goes as such. Little boy is born into family O, Native American tribe. Meanwhile, the Skinwalkers are trying to kidnap said boy so they can sacrifice him before the blood moon comes, or something along those lines. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it wasn't memorable to me. But yeah, Skinwalkers are very protective, and again, our favorite show, good old Lost Tapes, has it.
Some favorite show.
I have a really bad memory. But it is on, again, it's on Lost Tapes, season 2 or 3, you know the deal.
I thought it was season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong.
Apparently Lost Tapes is on, no, wait, never mind, I lied, don't listen to me. I almost said Lost Tapes is on the Animal Planet website, but it's not. It used to be, but it's not anymore. Yeah, they just have the top 10 scariest moments.
Woohoo! Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, guys, by the way, Lost Tapes is not actually that scary. It's got a couple of jump scares. I will say, the vampire episode, not the Strogie vampire episode, but the vampire episode, when I first saw it, I did not sleep for a couple of nights.
Oh, that's not saying much.
Yeah, I get scared pretty easily.
That's why you leave all the creepy shit to me. But yeah, Skinwalker and the Wendigo are very similar, as they both come from Native American lore, and the fact that they both attack people. Granted, one is a psychosis and the other is just out of protection, but still, these are both once human beings going into an animalistic state. A lot of Native American lore is like that, which is fine. Ending this episode, I found something really fun on eHow. If you don't know what eHow is, it's basically a how-to website that will teach you how to do something, and shut up. It teaches you how to do something, and in this one, I found how to find the Wendigo.
Which still makes me wonder.
Step 1! Visit tribal lands of the... I'm not going to try and pronounce that because I will butcher it and I will feel bad. Or other indigenous Native American tribes along the U.S. and Canadian border of the Great Lake regions. That's where most of the sightings are. Step 2. Solicit opinions of tribe elders to see if you can find the best places to find the Wendigo. Step 3. Watch for reports of violent weather in the area, such as ice storms, tornadoes, and extreme winds. These types of weather phenomenon are believed to be signs of a Wendigo being in the area. Traveling to those areas, to the areas hardest hit by these types of events, may lead you to a Wendigo. Step 4. Look for upturned trees, animal stampedes, or unusual animal migration patterns. A Wendigo likes to move like a force of nature, tearing apart landscape as it moves through the forest. The presence of a Wendigo causes panic in an area's animal population, causing them to wildly flee out of the path of the creature. Step 5. Camp out in a remote part of the forest during the summer months. Wendigos are believed to hibernate during the winter, but spend time during the summer months collecting enough food to survive the winter. Wendigos also tend to avoid populated areas, so the more remote a location, the better chance you are of encountering a Wendigo in the wild. Tips and warnings. Wendigos can only be killed using weapons made of silver. Unloaded with silver bullets is highly recommended for protection against a Wendigo attack. A fire should also be kept burning at all times to discourage a Wendigo from invading your campsite. Wendigos are extremely dangerous creatures that are known to hunt and kill humans for food. Trying to find a Wendigo in the wild could be potentially dangerous endeavor, and should be undertaken with extreme caution. So,
I wonder if people get paid money just to take people on tours to look for
yeah,
Wendigos.
probably. It's probably like those ghost walks around here.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, that is all the time we have for tonight. I'm Dex.
I am Mr. Ocean.
And we are signing out. Bye-bye.
Bye.